The wilderness of Paran. Guys, in another video we had showed you the significance of the wilderness of Paran. Now we're in the wilderness of Kadesh. The only thing I can explain to you is that you have to watch the previous videos. I know I say that all the time, but in order to understand where I am and what I'm describing to you, you would have to understand the Exodus story. Okay, and many people, we know the Exodus story, Sunday school teaching, but we don't actually understand that it's going to happen in the last days. In the last days, there's a second Exodus. There's a last days Exodus. It talks about this in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, that it's an admonition for the end of days. Now we're in the end of days, and there are dates, there are things precisely in the Exodus. Okay, in previous videos, we've shown you that the Exodus takes place in the book of Exodus in 1 year. Then the book of Numbers picks up in year 2. Then at the end of Numbers, it describes year 40. Okay? Now, let me just explain what happened. In Paran, God sent 10 spies. They went out to the promised land. I'm sorry for the wind. I'm going to try and block it. And when they went out, there was an evil report, and God said, okay, you can't enter the promised land. You're going to wander 40 years. So that was an additional 38 years they wandered in the wilderness. Then, after 38 years, they came to a place called Kadesh. That's right where I am right now. And right now is the waters of strife, Meribah. Now, there's two Meribahs. There's one at the mountain of Horeb. Okay? And then it says there's a distance. You go from Horeb, in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1, you go from Horeb to Kadesh. It's 11 days journey. So where we are, 11 days journey from Horeb, which we know is the area of Mount Sinai. Okay? That's 11 days, right? It's not the same place. Why? There's two Meribahs. There's one time God tells Moses, strike the rock. That's Horeb. That's Mount Sinai. Then the children of Israel come many years later, after wandering in the desert, 38 years, they come to Kadesh. And Kadesh is a place that is the southern border of the promised land. So Moses is here in this spring, and he's about to enter the promised land with the children of Israel. They're striving with Moses, saying, Moses, we have no water. They're complaining exactly the same way they did 40 years earlier. Moses becomes angry. God says, speak to the rock. And he strikes the rock. The water comes out, but God said, you did not follow my instructions to sanctify me in the face of the people. So this is the rock, this whole rock here, and this is the rock, okay, that God said to speak to. Then the waters came out, but he said, you did not follow my instructions. Now this might seem like harsh judgment from God. What's the difference? Well, in Exodus 17, it says that Christ himself is the rock that appeared. So he appeared, he said he appeared before Moses. So he's appearing before the rock, and Moses strikes the rock. And we believe he appeared as well before this rock, that he appeared again. And now he said, speak to the rock. And that is the first time that Christ comes, he was struck, okay? Now it's his voice, okay, to speak to the rock. You don't strike it again. He was already struck. You don't crucify him anew. You don't crucify him again. It's Christ. Christ is the rock. Christ is the living waters, okay? So it's very important for Moses to obey this instruction and to speak. Now, this is not condemnation of Moses, but it's all of the children of Israel were right at the opportunity to enter the land. They're right here. But instead, they were routed around the Dead Sea into Edom, and they had problems with the Edomite kings. Okay? Then you know the story. Moses goes to Mount Nebo. He sees the promised land, and he dies there, and Lord buries him in Moab. Then Joshua leads the people in through Jericho. Okay? In the story of Jericho, and they march around the walls, right? Well, what happened is they're here at this place and having the opportunity to enter right here into the promised land. And that's what's happening prophetically to all of us. All right? We were at this place of Paran, the opportunity to enter, but there was a delay. We weren't ready. We didn't take to heart the commandments. The Exodus, we also as well wandered in the wilderness. Now, instead of it being 38 years, it goes from the time period when the spies' evil report was the 12th day of the 4th month. Now we come into this period before the 1st month. Because in the 1st month, then we have the events picking up where Miriam is buried, Aaron is buried, and then eventually Moses recites the law, the Deuteronomy, the oral law on the 11th day of the 1st month. Okay? So what's happening is we are walking out these precise events again. Okay? We're given the opportunity again to enter the promised land, to enter here. And we must follow his instructions. If he says strike, strike. But he's already, the striking has already happened to the Messiah. He was already wounded for our transgressions. We will not strike him again because he's already died for us. Okay? He is the lamb that was slain. Now we speak. Now the lamb is seated on the throne. And when he's seated on the throne, he has borders to his kingdom. We're going to tell you in another video about the borders to the kingdom is from this spring. And he is the living water. So it talks about this. You can see the sun. Well, in Revelation 7, it says, the sun will no more burn on you, meaning you are wandering in the wilderness. He will feed us. Well, he is the manna in the wilderness that fed the people. He is the living waters. This is the place of the living waters, the Meribah. Now, I was in Jordan, and there's a place called Wadi Musa, and I thought at the time when I was there that was the place of the spring. However, in doing more research and understanding, I realized that Paran is in Jordan, but Kadesh is in modern-day Israel, and it's south of the Dead Sea, and it's this spring. Ron Wyatt described this. He has a map. I can show you the map, and he said this was this place. He identified it. I don't know the circumstances that went around him identifying it, but we believe his testimony. Okay? And even if that testimony is not so, still the prophetic message is the same. Whether it be this spring or not, Christ is the rock. Christ is the living waters. Christ is the source. Okay? Now, of course, there's going to be living waters out of the temple that are going to flow to En-Gedi. But this is the Exodus. So now we're at a place, again, of this rock, of this Kadesh, of the southernmost of the kingdom. Now, when the children of Israel, in Numbers chapter 10, they had trumpets. They had one trumpet blast to the east. Okay, so you blow it once, east. Okay? And you blow it twice, it's south. So, south, if we do 2 trumpet blasts, that's when you enter from the south. It's Gad, troops. Okay, so this place is in Ezekiel, chapter 47, chapter 48. It's in Joshua, Kadesh-barnea, the south, the southern border of the promised land. Okay, so we're going to blow the trumpet. We're going to blow the trumpet 2 times as the south. So we're going to enter from the south. Okay. Yeah! That's 1 trumpet blast. So the camp should come from the south. And we're going to do it again. All right, 2 trumpet blasts from the south. So we enter from the south, and that is this place, this spring, this location. Okay, we'll show you this on a map, and we can see from the topography of the area, the mountain range turns from the Dead Sea. It turns to the west, and it's these mountains just behind us. Okay, so in these mountains just behind us is the waters of strife of Meribah. As we explained before, this happened in Horeb, but Horeb is 11 days' journey to Kadesh. In Kadesh, there's another striving for the waters. So we're in the Exodus. The Exodus is continuing. Okay, it's still going on. So in order to understand all this, guys, I put together this playlist on the Exodus, and I really encourage you to watch the previous videos. Okay, we did one in Paran when we were in Jordan. We did another one on the 10 complaints. We did another one on the admonition of the last days. It's a lot of material. There's some notes which you should get. Even if you've watched these before, watch them again, because there's a lot of information. There's a lot of content. Even we're here, we're refreshing on these messages because of all the details in the story, the dates, the time. There's a precise order to the Exodus, okay? And now we're in this next thing. But instead of it being 40 years, it's happening it's happening at an accelerated time, okay? So now these events are happening where we're given the opportunity to not make the same mistakes as the children of Israel, not to strive with God, okay? But the Lamb, and follow the Lamb, follow Christ. Speak to the rock, okay? Speak His word. Speak. And I apologize for the wind. Try and protect the sound. It's very windy here, but this is the Exodus. We're in the Exodus, and we have many videos on this, okay? For time's sake, we're just going to talk about Kadesh. We're at this place. We're at this launching place. The spies went out from Paran. The spies went out from Kadesh, okay? When they went out, they went to spy out the land. And that's what's happening again. God is sending spies to prepare the way for the people against Pharaoh, against all the beast system that's trying to prohibit us from entering the promises of God, okay? And as exciting as everything is to be at the very place where the children of Israel went on the Exodus, this is more important. What does it mean for us? What time is it? Guys, we have some other videos on the timing of the end times Exodus. And one of the videos that I encourage you to watch is to watch the first 7 years of the apocalypse. Some of what I'm saying is probably new to you if you're new to this channel. This is things that we've been talking about for years, but all the pieces are coming together perfectly. We're going to go over this chart right here. But guys, the information that you're seeing is a result of charts like these. And what you're looking at is a pattern of 7, and you can see in each you have 7 years and 7 years. And we've now been able to confirm those years of the Exodus. They're right here. And amazingly, it starts with the Lamb. Everything, guys, we do, we prophesy according to the Lamb. We speak God's word only according to the Lamb. And it is the Lamb that has opened the seal. It is the Lamb who is seated upon the throne. And what you're looking at right here is a menorah. You see that menorah? Well, that menorah, of course, a menorah has 7 lamps, right? Well, it also has 22 almond buds. And those almond buds are all the eclipses. Okay, so you remember the hype about the blood moons, right? And the lunar and solar eclipses, the solar eclipse over America, the blood moons. Well, those form precisely 22 almond buds on the menorah, precisely in a precise order, and we're going to talk about that order. But guys, we are in this Exodus, so let's actually just right into these charts here, guys, and to explain all this. I have a lot of things I can go over here and to explain the importance of why it is that we are led to this spring, so that we would know this prophetic message of where we are in time. Okay, if you guys remember the blood moons of 2014, I'm not sure anyone really explained to us the interpretation of those, but basically what it means is we have this menorah here, and if you remember, there was a blood moon full lunar eclipse in the spring and the fall of 2014, and then the spring and fall of 2015. And these are the 4 blood moons here, the lunar tetrad of our menorah. But what people don't realize is it formed a sequence that continues over 10.5 years. And there are predominantly markers of 22 eclipses. For space, I have not included all of them here because we're just going over the end times Exodus. Okay? But how it works is you have a lunar eclipse preceding a solar eclipse in a sequence, okay? So for example, this one here had a lunar eclipse on August 18th, 2016. Then 2 weeks later, a solar eclipse. So there's an eclipse that's marking, okay, look for something big is going to happen in 2 weeks, and then it happens. So that happens over all these eclipses over 10.5 years. And it happens on a precise schedule and pattern of falling in the markers that we learn from the book of Esther. So in the book of Esther, the king holds a feast, 180 days. That's 6 months. So all of these eclipses, beginning in 2014, follow perfectly a pattern within this interval. And what they're marking is they're marking the seals, trumpets, and bowls. So this then brings us to the timing of the Exodus. So in the timing of the Exodus, we have the 4 lunar tetrad. We have 2016 in the spring, and then this one is in the fall of 2016. This is Esther's preparation. So Esther begins her preparation at this time. It was also marked by the Star of Bethlehem. Then what happens is in Purim of in the feast in 2016. Now you can see the year has changed in the Gregorian because it starts in too early, February, but there was a solar eclipse, February 26, 2017. Well, that is in the Exodus, that is Moses' call in the 10 plagues. Okay? And we're gonna go over this twice, but let's see. Let's get this here in the screen so you can see. Now the reason we know this is because, like we said, when the Lamb opens the seal, that's these 4 lunar tetrad, that's the beginning of this process, the beginning of these timetables, okay? Well, it's 1,000 days. So when the Lamb opens the seal, in 1,000 days, 1,000 days is 2 years and 9 months, according to the Enoch calendar. So what that does is that brings us to the 10th month of 2016. So in this period here, when Esther is in the middle of her preparation, Purim 2016, okay, that is the time that Moses is called and the 10 plagues are going on. Now, according to this, the plagues would have actually lasted 3.5 months. Actually, Moses' call, when the burning bush appears to him, he goes to Egypt, and the plagues, that whole timetable, there's space here for 3.5 months of that taking place. So we get that by the difference of the census, okay? And we'll go over this later, but this is the proof of the Enoch calendar. Let's talk about it real quick. They also were numbered, when the people were numbered, there were 603,550 people. That was in the second year. Then 38 years later, in the 40th year, they're numbered again, 601,730. That's 1,820 less people, right? But what this is, in the Enoch calendar, is you divide that by 364, which is the number of days in the Enoch calendar, you have exactly 5 years. So they're counted again exactly 5 years after the Lamb opens the seal. All right, we're going to go over that in more detail later. Now, let's continue with the proof of the Exodus through the various signs. Okay, so we have Purim 2016, the call, the 10 plagues beginning. All right, then what happens is, you guys remember the big solar eclipse over America, August 21st, 2017. What does it mean? Well, it concludes Esther's preparation. Esther had a year of preparation. It's also Moses returns from the mountain after 40 days, the second time. That's what that was marking, guys. That's what that was marking. It's marking 2 things. A precise date in the Exodus. Okay, Moses returns from the 40 days. And it's marking perfectly the conclusion of Esther's preparation. All right, and we do have... these are things I'll provide for you guys. I'll provide you this page and then the calendar with the precise dates in it. what I did is I combined all the events most of the events in the Exodus take place in months 1 through 6, because that's just what the scriptures record. But it's over several years. You can see we have year 1, year 2, and year 40. Then we have Joshua conquest. Okay, so what we have is, as we said, we have these markers, right? Remember these almond buds, all right? And they're at 6-month intervals, marking precise prophetic events. So Moses come down after the 40 days of the mountain the second time. That is the conclusion of Esther's preparation. Perfect match. Then what happens is we go into the next year. And the next year we have the spies report. And that's marked by the full lunar eclipse, July 27, 2018. That's coming in the 5th month. Okay? Now, as you're reading this, you see how there's yellow? Well, the yellow is a marker of the springtime of the year. So we have this. You can see we have this in the center. We have another video on this, guys. I encourage you to go over this a couple times to try and learn and absorb what I'm showing you. But you see, in 2018, that yellow 5, that's what we have here. This one here, this yellow 5, the 15th day of the 5th month, 2018. That full lunar eclipse is marking the spies' report. Because then what happens is the people didn't receive the report. And the same thing with us. We're doing the same evil, wicked things as the children of Israel. And so the Lord is judging us. Okay? Then what happens is, that's in the 2nd year. So we wander in the wilderness. So we didn't know it was going to happen. But then the Lord led us to Kadesh. Now Kadesh happens just prior to the 40th year. Okay? And we've also explained to you the confirming of the covenant. So he confirms the covenant 1 year. And 1 week is the Feast of Weeks. So that happened. That's why we did that message. Okay? And then what's going to happen in, just in a few days from this recording, we're going to have a full lunar eclipse. Okay? That's marking the confirming of the covenant, the beginning of confirming of the covenant. Okay? Then it's confirmed for 1 year. And that's the book of Deuteronomy. Then what happens is we come into Kadesh. We're actually led to the same place. So the children of Israel went to Elat, which is on the Red Sea, and we went north to Kadesh. That's what we're showing you the footage of. And then in here, we have many events of where in the 40th year, what happens in the 1st month, Miriam dies. In the 5th month, 1st day, Aaron dies. And the 11th month, we have Moses reciting Deuteronomy. All right. Now, what it says in Deuteronomy, he confirms the covenant. He recites the book of Deuteronomy orally to the people on the 1st day of the 11th month. Well, this partial lunar eclipse here, January 10th, 2020, is the 2nd day of the 11th month, confirming almost to the precise date of that Deuteronomy prophecy. Okay? So you can see Aaron dying is in close proximity with a few days, okay, to this date here, this partial lunar eclipse, July 16th, 2019. Okay? So you can see all these almond bulbs, all these eclipses marking perfectly prophetic events. Now, these events are related to the Exodus. Okay? So that was Exodus, 1st year. 1st year, the children of Israel left. 2nd year, the spies report. They wander in the wilderness. An additional 38 years. After 38 years brings us to year 40. Then Miriam dies. Aaron dies. Moses is buried in Moab. Okay? After which we begin Joshua's conquest. Okay, Joshua's conquest. That begins the next year. Okay? And so that one would bring us to June 21st, 2020. Now these are also following a sequence of trumpets. Okay? So you'll notice that there's points by which we're instructed to blow the trumpet for the assembly of the camps. Okay, so we had to do that last year. Last year, in the second year, there was a census. And so we blew the trumpet to assemble the camps, lion, ox, man, eagle. Okay? So we did that, the assembling of those camps. And then the people are numbered. All right, and then we had that number, 603,550. All right, so then what happens is we weren't ready, so we were sent into the wilderness to wander again. And then we're being assembled again. So these trumpets are blowing to assemble us again, and then there's 601,730. Well, what's the difference? The difference is 1,820 people. Well, those people relate to years. So that's 5 years. So if we go from when the Lamb opened the seal, 2014 plus 5, 2019. That's when we're being numbered again. Okay, you see? So the same thing is happening. Right? We also have, as we explained before, there were 22,000 Levites. That was in this census. Right? Afterwards, there's more. There's 23,000. And that's here in year 40. What's the difference? 1,000 people, 1,000 Levites. Well, if we, again, divide that by 364, we get 2.75. And so that means when the Lamb opens the seal, guys, that's right here. When the Lamb opens the seal, that's in the book of Esther as well. When he opens the seal, that begins the counting of the years to the Exodus. So the king is angry because Vashti refused the king's command. All right? And when he does, the king is angry. He's angry, what? 1, 2. He's angry 2 years. And afterwards, he says, well, let's replace her. And they gather virgins. Well, that's exactly what happens in the Exodus. In the Exodus, you have 2 years. And towards the end of those 2 years is the call of Moses and the 10 plagues on Egypt. All right? So then, Esther's preparation matches this. Okay? So we have precisely an order to things, an order and sequence of 22 solar and lunar eclipses. Okay? And so you can see those here on the menorah. So I encourage you to get this and look at it. You can see the eclipses there. How this is viewed is a circle is a partial solar eclipse. A circle with a black dot in it is a full solar eclipse. A red circle is a partial lunar eclipse. A red full circle is a full lunar eclipse, okay? So these are going in a schedule, in a pattern, over precise dates and years. Wow, amazing. And over here on the side, we have the Enoch dates that are related to that. Now, excuse me, actually, what I'll do when you get this, I forgot to put the dates, which I have here, of the actual dates that are written in the book of Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy for the significant events. Maybe not all of those fit there, but I'm gonna put them here so you have all those dates. Why? Because the same story is happening again. So, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna show you a spring. The spring we showed you may be the spring, but there's another cave with a spring, and we're gonna show you that and wrap it up. Okay, another feature here at the mountain you see around us is this cave. We'll try and get another view for you. But there is water erosion here, and this actually meets a little bit more of the description of the valley below, because the people would have seen Moses, and this is clearly visible. We'll show you from below. And in here, you can see the cave. It's a cave that goes back, and in here, we could zoom in. See that in there? That's a source of water that's coming through. This may have met more of the description of the actual rock and the well than the other one we've shown you. So we wanted to show you this as a possible kind of alternate. And then we see water erosion and then the valley going down below. And if we look from ground level up, we can also see the cave is quite a feature. And we'll show you the mountains up above. Here as we look up, we can see the cave we showed you inside. It's a feature that clearly stands out in the landscape as we look out in the mountains. So we're looking at possibly the spring being here or where we showed you up here. But either way, we do believe this is the site, and then it would overlook the valley below, which we've shown you. So guys, thanks for watching. Please, I can't encourage you enough. At least I'll put the link in for the playlist. At least watch the 10 complaints. You have to do that because we're repeating the same things, okay? And these things disallowed. And so what's going to happen, there's a numbering of the people. Okay, let's talk about this real quick before I wrap it up. Okay, the other thing that happens is in this place, in this Kadesh, it's just like Paran. What they did is they did a census. There was a shekel of the sanctuary. They count all the people. There's approximately 600,000 people. They wander in the desert. They come back 38 years later, and it's 600,000 people. So there's a census. Okay, so what's happening in the time, there's a census. The people have to be counted. The people have to be counted at this place before they enter. There's a census. The people have to be counted. I have a video on the Great Army on all those figures. So that's another thing that's happening. It's like a reset, okay? It's like a reset button, and now the people have to be counted, have to be numbered. Those that are on the scroll of memorial, the Zikron, okay? Now, that's a lot of information. You may not know anything I'm talking about, but I promise you I'll put links in the description field to describe it. But that is what's going on in the Exodus story. So God bless you. I hope you're as excited as I am about finding this spring. This is amazing. And as I always say, watch and pray. They be counted worthy to escape all these things. In Iesus Christos' name, amen.